I'm here today at RSA, and I'm so happy to be here. It's exciting. I'm here with Samantha Madrid, the Group Vice President of Security Business and Strategy at Juniper Networks.
Jo, thank you for taking the time. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. I love the energy here. Can you feel it?
I really can. I mean, in a way, it's like it took me back to the early days of RSA in my career. Being here, it was like all the energy, the excitement, everybody kind of saying hello, learning, sharing. It's exciting. I think, I've missed it.
Yeah, easy. I mean, it's easy to feel like we missed it. And I know that Juniper is such a big part of the RSA community, and there's communities within communities. I feel like you have a dedicated community of users that use your products. But what some people may not know is that Juniper has been really, really forward in their support of the Cloud Security Alliance. How does community and the Alliance help strengthen the whole InfoSec community at large?
Well, I think when you think of cyber, it is the bedrock. Community is the bedrock of really great threat intelligence. I think as an industry, we've kind of are built from that. And one of the things that I'm super proud of that Juniper has done is really integrate ourselves into the community. It's not just about the intelligence and the technologies we create. It's how we can share that intelligence with the collective. It's how can we share early indicators of compromise and insights with the global threat community. And one organization that I'm very proud to be a part of is the Cyber Threat Alliance. So CTA has been a long-standing organization that is dedicated to understanding threat landscape and sharing that intelligence with all of its member companies. I was actually recently voted in to serve on their board. And fun fact, I'm the first woman to ever serve on the board for the Cyber Threat Alliance. So I'm very, very honored and excited about that.
Okay, can we just take a moment and stand still and go, preach? That is so awesome. As I look out into the marketplace and as I work with customers, what I'm seeing is worlds coming together. And what I mean by that is, for years we had silos. And I'm not saying that we don't still have silos, but how many network people are responsible for security? Raise your hand. How many security people are responsible for network? Raise your hand. So we're starting to see these groups talk together and work together on projects, and connection has always been an important thing for Juniper. So can you take a minute and share Juniper's connected security strategy?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you asked that, because I was going to weave it in if you hadn't. But that's really been the whole premise behind the connected security strategy. It was to bring security to every point of connection so we could safeguard users' applications and the infrastructure. When a breach happens, the onus doesn't just fall on the security team. Everybody is called to action, the networking teams and the security teams alike, to remedy the situation, understand the situation, and plug any potential hole. And so to only think about this as a security problem that can only be solved with security products, I think is selling the opportunity short. And so the content security strategy has always been about weaving intelligence in. So again, back to what we were just talking about, the collective intelligence, weaving that in so your routers, your switches, and your access points can make smart security decisions in concert with your security technology, like your firewall, your application security, and things like that. That everything is working together, communicating together, so that you truly have visibility across the entire network. And so that's the connected security strategy and what we've been executing against for nearly 4 years now.
That's awesome. And it seems like the only thing constant in IT is change, right? And I'd read this really interesting statistic about how globally cloud will be approaching the 500 billion, all forms of cloud, mark by the end of this year.
Wow.
That's up 24% from last year.
Wow.
So you would think, oh, okay, maybe you're one of the pandemic it would have gone up, but it significantly continues to increase. And I know that Juniper has been part of that story. How is this connected strategy able to support customers in hybrid environments or whatever kind of environment they have?
The premise is to bring security at every point of connection. We know there is, security architectures and network architectures are vast. You have distributed, you mentioned cloud, and this move to cloud, it should be an extension of what you have today in your environment. It shouldn't be building from scratch. So, last year we introduced Security Director Cloud, and that was a cloud-delivered security platform that allows for customers to manage all of their security technologies, as well as manage that transition to the cloud. Earlier this year, we introduced our Secure Edge, which is our cloud-delivered security stack that allows that for them to continue that transition. And so there's no break in visibility. There's no break in their ability to secure their organization. But what it does do is that it allows them to make that transition at their pace. And so when we started hearing a lot about the SASE architecture and the promise to be able to bring network and security together, right, for improved operations and heightened security, we're like, this is what we've been delivering for the past 4 years. This is the connected security strategy.
And you've had some exciting announcements here at RSA. And I know that some of that news has created sort of this whole full stack vision.
Yeah.
Can you chat about that a little bit?
Well, absolutely. So you mentioned something a moment ago. You talked about how it's not just a bunch of standalone technologies. And I think, what I've started to see, and this is why I had a lot of conviction in our strategy, was SASE, or the shift to cloud, isn't just taking what you have on premise and forklifting it to the cloud, calling it cloud delivered, and then I have a SASE strategy. No, it should be a continuation. Right. So part of that continuation, or realizing that, is that full stack software for SASE. That means it's the one engine, right, that is able to manage your firewall policies, your secure web access policies, your cloud application policies, and your advanced DLP. So the customer burden is removed when you're thinking about, if I have all of my security policies today and I'm trying to translate that to security, you're not having to do that manually. That's the key thing. I was actually just talking to someone earlier this morning, and they were talking about how one of the biggest challenges that they're starting to see on an adoption of SASE is the fact that they're starting to see vulnerabilities occur in customer environments, because they're having to do all of this manually. It's increasing human error. And so while you think about this, why create bigger challenges for ourselves when you could just take your existing policies and, with literally a click of a button, move those over to cloud policies? You're not taking on any operational burden for the customer, and you're able to have that seamless security across the board.
Yeah, you make a really good point, because the number one issue around cloud security last year was misconfiguration.
Yeah.
I mean, human error was the number one thing that happened.
I believe
People thought they were securing things, they weren't securing things, or they didn't know that they needed to secure them, and it's confusing, right? It's confusing for one person to have to manage all these multiple systems. But take a minute, if you can, and besides policy, talk to me about end user visibility, because that is super important.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. If you ask any CIO or CISO, how many users are on their network and how many devices they have on their network that their users are using, they probably couldn't answer the question confidently. And what we strive to do is provide that complete visibility. One of the things that Security Director Cloud fosters, which powers our Secure Edge solution, is the ability to see all devices that are on the network, the ability to see all users that are on the network, and then build policies around identity. Mm-hmm. So if the identity, whether it's based on a device, a user, or an application, can follow that entity wherever it is. And I think that that's really, really powerful when trying to support a multi-cloud environment, when trying to support a distributed network, that you're not having to build, thousands of policies. You can build them around the entity specifically, and it doesn't matter where that entity lives, that it just follows it.
Very forward thinking for you guys to include CASB into your stack. It feels like you're trying to future-proof for the customer. Tell me about your thinking in terms of adding CASB to the stack.
Well, CASB is about understanding applications that the customer doesn't own and operate, right? It gives visibility to those applications, but it allows the customer to leverage their policies and apply it to the data and the applications that are outside their span of control. So they're not having to break visibility. So if you think about secure web gateway and firewall as a service, right? They're firewall policies that allow for a customer to control their network resources and or to secure web access. But a lot of those network resources now are living in applications, public applications, that again, the customer does not own. But their confidential information is there. Mm-hmm. So it only made sense if we're building identity-based policies that follow the user and follow the device, that extended to public applications, that it extended the secure access to understanding what is actually living in those applications and is there any risk associated with that. So it's putting the administrators back in the driver's seat of their data and really about securing the centers of data, not just the data center.
Right. And it feels like there was very thoughtful thinking as it relates to even the data, because you added a DLP element. So people forget about securing the data, I feel sometimes. And that was a good move. Was that your thinking? Was just
Absolutely.
To think of the entire environment?
Well, when you think of zero trust, and I think of SASE just the other side of the same coin, right? Zero trust should extend to wherever the data resides. Mm-hmm. And at the root of zero trust to me is about identity and data. Mm-hmm. And if the data is living outside the kind of traditional corporate perimeter, then the security needs to extend and follow with it. I talk about it as kind of micro perimeters. It's creating a micro perimeter around the actual data itself, not just to where the data lies. And so you have insight, you can take action, and you can adapt that through DLP to be able to recognize, does that data need to be there? Should it be there? Should I restrict it? Should I remove it? Right? Because not all data is created equal. And so you can't have draconian policies that either exclude or allow. We live in an adaptive world. And I think one of the things that employees have really shown over this pandemic is that they can be highly successful in a very flexible world. Mm-hmm. And so we need to have flexibility around our policy, our security needs to be flexible, and our networks need to be flexible. And so we have been laser focused on providing that flexibility through automation, so you're not having to take on complexity and the operational burden to get there.
That's great. What closing thoughts do you have for us here at RSA?
Well, again, a lot of talk is around transformation. Transformation is opportunity. but it's predicated on having a great experience along the way. If you aren't taking experience into mind, if that's not a part of that journey, then you're going to overcomplicate the desired outcome. And security has been a necessity in every type of network, but has a tendency to sometimes become overly complicated. And it's overly complicated because security isn't integrated into the network. It stands on the outside in very specific locations. So we've been on this journey through our connected security strategy to bring security to every point of connection, to safeguard the users, the applications, and the infrastructure. And now with our latest announcement and addition to Secure Edge, we are extending that security to cloud delivered architectures, and allowing customers truly to start with their today and build for their future automatically.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking time
Thank
to
you,
visit
Jo.
today.
Likewise.